Whatever, you and Greg are the only ones on the,
You're first.
on the
Okay.
agenda, so whichever way you like.
Okay, I thought Joe had been added.
Joe did get in. He's just
Oh,
for
maybe
his-
he
he's
did.
just for aesthetic.
And he's always welcome. I think you're always welcome. So let me just, for the record, this is still February 5th, 2026. We're in, Senate institutions. We're going over the capital budget. And now we will be discussing section 14, judiciary, and we have Terry Corzone and Greg Mosley, sorry, of judiciary, and we'll have other folks in a couple of minutes, and you know us all, so just if you could identify yourself again.
Sure. Terry Corson, State Court Administrator, and Greg Mosley is our Chief of Finance and Administration of the Judiciary.
Perfect. So thank you.
Sure. And it's our understanding that you would like us to speak to the adjustment request for the capital bill versus the whole, or did you want?
Oh, I guess we haven't talked to you generally, have we? Are you prepared to?
Yeah, we can, whatever you would like.
Why don't you give us a high level of the entire one, because we haven't necessarily looked at it yet, but let's focus on the proposed amendment.
Okay, proposed amendment being the Essex County.
Correct.
Well, that's great. Because that's what we, and we did give us some.
I guess it's not an amendment, is it? It's just,
An adjustment.
Yeah, PAA adjustment.
oh, right.
And forgive me for if I repeating anything, but we were here just indicating addressing the suggestion that Representative Emmons had vis-a-vis a letter of intent. So we had addressed that last week, and we did give an overview, but we're happy to,
Right, okay, let's step back. So that letter of intent is in progress.
yes, we'd submitted a draft.
Okay, so it is happening. And so this meeting was intended to be the BAA. So let's stick with that, because that's how it was advertised.
Okay, that
Okay.
sounds fine. And the adjustment to the judiciary's capital request, it had to do with an unexpected expense that arose vis-a-vis the Essex County project. And I don't know how many different presentations you've had about how many different buildings. We had presented in general what the purpose of the project was, and that was to, in essence, modernize the Essex County Courthouse. And I do have copies of the materials that have been provided that give all of the different renovations, if you would like. That was approved last year.
Right.
And work was slated to begin in the fall. And in the course of doing the kind of final design work for that, it was discovered that the water system in Guildhall, which would have been connected to the sprinkler system, there is no sprinkler system now, but it would be required for this new renovation expansion. We learned that the water system wasn't adequate to support the sprinkler system. And ultimately it was decided that a water tank with a pump would be the best alternative. It didn't appear after we met with the Guildhall Select Board that anything would be done at all in the near future or possibly far future in terms of having any change in the pressure results that we were told would not support the sprinkler system. So this alternate approach, which is to basically install an underground water tank and a pump house to, in the event that the sprinkler system was activated and the water source was needed, that would be a way to satisfy basically the requirements, the regulations for sprinkler systems.
And it's fire. So
Yes. So the cost of that is $500,000. That's estimated. I guess if they're still hopeful that it might be somewhat less, but they wanted to get a figure that should cover all costs associated with this, I guess, modification to the original design. And
I want to point out that we do have a history of spending less up there. That's one of the reasons why we're able to get so far along in the process of doing this project, because we did have some monies that we were, I think, $750,000 that we were able to expend towards this project. And I worked with Senator Kitchell on that. So, I would not be surprised if it is what it is, but
Mhm.
we do have a history of keeping it on budget or less in Essex.
I know that every effort was made in terms of the design to do it at economical rates. If you remember, one of the aspects of it is right now jurors, when there's a jury pool for a jury draw, have to walk, they meet at the town hall because there isn't a large enough space at the courthouse. So they walk 100 yards or so. And this would allow part of this project, renovations were made to the meat building that's next door, such so that jurors would be able to meet there and then easily walk over or go to the courthouse after the jury draw or in conjunction with it. That's just kind of an example of how things were done in a way to accommodate, the resources that were there. But that would be one distinct advantage. And the other mostly had to do with security, just in terms of right now, there's very little separation between the public and the non-public part of the courthouse. Attorneys' meetings rooms are conference rooms, and there's those act as a holding cell, if you will. It's a conference room versus a holding cell. This would incorporate a holding cell, a sally port, separate attorney-client meeting room for detainees that doesn't exist now, and also a separate conference room so that lawyers now are meeting with clients in a jury room because there's no other conference room. So this design is intended to kind of address all of those current shortcomings.
Right, and we've heard about the design and we've discussed it multiple times, and it seems like a very reasonable design, and the additional that's required for the fire code. Fire code is pretty important. So that, and I appreciate learning that you went to the town to see if the pressure was going to be increased. In my town, we actually need to step down the pressure in the homes because the pressure is so big. So that is something that can happen. But this seems reasonable. I just want to, for the record, just mention that we did get an email from Ed Clark, Vice Chair of the Guildhall Planning Board, expressing his concern about the additional $500,000, and essentially saying that he doesn't think that it's necessary, that this work is necessary. So.
And we'd be happy to respond to that. Mr. Clark did express his objections to the proposal. I think in the beginning, you would probably know some of it was more in terms of the nature of it, but I wasn't, I had heard the name in conjunction with objections to it. And I guess just to respond, he made mention of detainees being in a cruiser. And Greg did gather that information, or that information was provided to him from Assistant Judge Ken Stransky, who, I apologize, we're happy to reach out to him, but where he obtained that information, we're not sure, but it came from that source for that particular point.
And actually, I just heard from our office that there's an incident report. So it does happen, but it doesn't happen very often. We use that conference room primarily. There was one case, and we have an incident report on it, where the detainee was being very loud and disruptive. And so the only other place to put them is in the cruiser. So it was reported that it happened. And, I think
it just furthers the cause as far as to, why we need to do what we do. And I think that we've done very well up there. I think there's only been a couple people who have protested the modernization of this courthouse. And I think that if, I think, I'm not, again, I certainly have a vested interest in it, but I think one of the most powerful things that came to me was that this is to protect the accused. This expansion is to do more to protect the accused of anything. And one of the most powerful parts for me is when one of the judges had spoke up, say, lots of times they bring in the accused and his attorney, and they're in the next room from where I'm at, and it's a thin door, a thin wall, and I'm hearing every bit of the conversation. And so, and I should be doing that. So I think that of all things that this protects the public, as, anybody that goes and has to do business in that courthouse, gives them a fair shake, in the justice system. And, that's my most, that's what I hear about.
I guess the other point that was made in Mr. Clark's, message was claims as to how much work had been done at the courthouse over the years or not done, and I apologize, we don't have information on that. He mentioned the roof and painting, but we would, I guess, point to the, again, the security aspects of the renovations too. And also, for example, the meeting house now has public bathrooms. It didn't have restrooms before, so just general minimal kind of amenities that you would want to have associated with the courthouse. But primarily security featured, and for both the judges, court staff, members of public, court users, litigants, jurors, etc.
Right, yeah, that makes sense, and that's, basic amenities that the public needs, and the folks who are using the courthouse.
And I think it's worth noting that the trend with courthouses and some of the renovation projects, and we'll talk about the other ones that are state-owned, are concerned primarily around criminal courthouses. You need some extra architecture in order to do that safely. The sally port, the holding cells, the pathway in and out of a courtroom. And our courthouses that are our highest priorities are the ones that don't have that infrastructure. So Essex is one, but you'll hear about Owens and the Washington County Criminal Courthouse as well.
Okay. Okay, and I think we were talking about how small the courthouse is, but it's still a courthouse for people who need a courthouse, and the nearest one is 2 hours.
We do know.
St. John's Fair is probably about 50 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah,
Maybe somebody had told us it was 2 hours for them to get to a courthouse.
yeah, that could very well be as well. Yeah,
Within the county.
Yeah,
that could be very well, yes.
yeah,
Sure.
so in rural areas,
Wow.
a small building can be exactly what you need.
Well,
Just has to have the right.
and I think
amenities.
too, Madam Chair, again, yeah, I think it's right sized, for where it is. It is just, if you want to talk about the best place in the whole wide world to get justice served to you, you're not going to find a more pleasant place, to be there. It's just, it looks like it belongs in a movie.
Yeah.
And the work that these folks are doing to make it, the next 40 years, is being done on an unbelievable budget, that will work. And, pretty proud of that.
Well, and the designer worked with historic preservation in order to make sure that it didn't change the aesthetics of the historic buildings. And it's a very low profile connector in the back of the building. So
Can't even see it.
That's very charming.
yeah.
Great, so I think we're good on that. I'm hearing from the committee. So what I would like to do is take a quick adjournment and just double check on whether or not we need to talk to you about the other item.
Oh,
Okay,
Oh.
just while you're here, but I just want
Okay.
to take a quick adjournment. Okay,